ready to take over the world. Oh man, that went off. Good morning, world. Good morning, America. My name is Whitney Clark. I am a write-in candidate for Detroit City Council here in District 5, the beautiful city of Detroit, Michigan. Listen, I am excited about really the potential of our future in the contrast of our right now because when you look at when you look at what we know we can become when we work together, when you look at all of the skills and talents that we share amongst our community, when you look at those types of things, when you look at the the fact that we are in a information stage where we can literally connect with people in any square of the world, when you look at the fact that we have the ability with things just as awesome as Black Tech Saturdays to like literally make our own curriculum for our children and infuse in those curriculums, you know, different components where our children can be taught, math and English and all these different, social studies while learning the trades. We can bring the trades back to our schools if that's what we really want to do. If we really, really wanted to do it, we could do it. And so we live in the information stage. We live in this place. And when we begin to look at it and bring our resources and our talents and our minds together, then it becomes just so obvious how much we can become and how much we can accomplish and how much further we can push our mission and our people and our families forward. Listen, we can do this. When we look at the talents that exist amongst our communities, look at this. We've got creators, we've got people that are great thinkers, we have great speakers, we have great doctors, we have great theologians, we have great teachers and families. We have a lot of great examples also to draw from. We have the ability to connect. We have the ability to teach these great lessons to the next generation about the skills and about the trades and about the stories of our journey and about the stories of our trials and tribulations. Listen, I'm pumped because I know what we can do if we come together. And I'm talking about that in contrast to what we are looking at because we cannot stay here. This is not sustainable. We know it's not. And so I'm actually excited when you look at the two in contrast and in comparison to one another. One, because I know that we can do great things if we come together in this moment and harness the power that exists when we coalesce and when we say that we have found common ground and we're going to march together and row in the same direction. We can do great things, and I believe we can do them almost overnight. But we've also got to look at where we are right now and agree collectively that what is going on in our communities cannot go on anymore. We got to do something different, y'all. It's time for something different. Can't you feel it? Can't you see it when you're driving in the city streets? Can't you understand that it's time for something different, right? You know it is. You know it's time for something different than what we've been seeing. Come on, y'all. It's time for something different in our schools. Help me now. It's time for something different, and you know it is. Come on, don't lie to me. Don't fool me now. That's what I don't want you to do. And that's my issue. Don't insult my intelligence. It's time for something different in our schools. And you know it is. And I don't believe that this type of change is going to need to be incremental change. No, we need great change. and we need great leaders who are making the argument for the great change that we need. Listen, it's time for something different in our neighborhoods. Man, they killed a four-year old yesterday. Yesterday, you all, excuse me, I'm still waking up. They I don't want to say killed. You have to be careful with the words on these different platforms, and so I I I said that, and so I won't say it again. But there was a 4-year old child that lost his life at a park on the east side of Detroit yesterday at at like, you know, 6:21. They say this was like 6:30 in the afternoon, evening rather. It's time for something different. We can't continue to react to these things. We have to begin to attack the culture in a sense. We have to begin to we have to begin to speak against it at an earlier age. It's time for something different. I want to go to this video here because that's what we're talking about, you know, locally. And good morning again to you all from wherever you're watching. But we are here in Detroit, Michigan, and excited to be running in a race that is winnable. I don't know what is wrong with my diction this morning. Good Lord. Help me, Lord. Okay, I promise I can talk. I promise I can. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. All righty. You're no good if you can't laugh at yourself anyway, so it is what it is. It's going to be a great day. It's Saturday. We're getting up. We're getting started early. And so hopefully our diction is in full effect by the time we make it out into the community today. All right. I want to show you um, a couple of videos that we saw on CNN this morning. CNN is in a very interesting space right now, but they are still a, you know, as of today, reputable news source in the sense that they have access to, you know, court hearings and court rulings and things of that nature. And that is exactly what we saw on yesterday. We saw a number of court rulings from the Supreme Court, obviously. We saw a few rulings, decisions, I should say, from the Supreme Court. And the network is spelling it out what they're saying, and also kind of telling us what the decision is. Let's see what it is here, and we will talk throughout. But I think it's very, very fascinating that they are really admitting in one way or the other that this is, by all accounts, a big deal. Let's take a look here what they're saying.
I'm going to go to Paula Reed. She's been reading through the opinion. Paula, what are you gleaning from it?
All right, Pamela, here's what we know. This is a big win for President Trump because he has been railing against these so-called nationwide injunctions. This is the power of a single judge to block an executive order for the entire country. And this case came up as a result.
Twice? I feel like that's playing twice. Is it or no? Let me know in the comments if that's echoing. Good morning. Shout outs to the people. You guys can't hear me here on this platform. I'm speaking to my friends here on this platform. Good morning, friends. Let me know if this is my man Tate. What's going on, boss? Good to see you. Shout out to one of the most talented photographers here in the city. Well, man, he's international at this point. But I wanna get you back out here, man. Derek Tate, Shots by Tate. Check him out on all platforms. But good to see you, my man. Hope all is well. We're speaking here this morning about some of the decisions given out by the Supreme Court justice. The Supreme Court, I should say, all of the justices. Let's jump in here. Let's let them talk instead of me talking so darn much for a minute here. We're toggling between platforms as well. But welcome again this morning. If you are watching My name is Whitney Clark, and I am a write-in candidate for Detroit City Council here in District 5. And we are so grateful and honored to have you listening in this morning. What I'm doing here essentially is ensuring that we are having conversations that matter, having conversations that are necessary in order for us to see movement on the issues that have been challenging us for many years. Because I believe we really have to own the power that we have in this moment. And because we have people running for public office, and because we have these elections taking place, and because we are in a pivotal time in our generational gaps where we have the baby boomers aging out of the work population, and we don't see the public schooling system, you know, fostering children and nourishing children into life as adults. Because I don't want to just say the workforce, but I want to say we don't want to, we're not developing our children in a way that prepares them for the world. Because yes, there is an educational component, and yes, there is a, safety component, but there's also an element to just ensuring that we're teaching family again, right? Like we're teaching community again. We're teaching those things that really have protected us from the whims of the federal government. I'm talking about our communities here. I'm talking about what really matters here on the ground. But the way that we rebuild that, because certainly we've lost an element of it, the way that we rebuild that is by having conversations and speaking truth to power in a real way, and letting people know that this is the moment where you ask for what we need by seeing when the windows are. And so I ask you now, if we do not demand better schools in this moment, when we get the best opportunity, when will we get a better opportunity to demand what it is we deserve? Come on, y'all. We're not going to allow people to get elected and or promoted in our city and in our state without addressing the issues that have plagued our communities for generations. It's time. And if we don't do it now, I'm afraid we may never have a realistic opportunity to address these issues. We got to wake up. And so we're having these conversations. We're forcing the narrative to go back to our schools, to go back to the predatory businesses that exist here in the city. We've got to talk about this. But we've also got to be watchful and sober minded about what is happening at the federal level and at the state level as well. And we've got to have politicians and elected leaders who are sober minded and who can connect the dots in a way that is important and that makes you see that what is going on at the state level and what is going on at the federal level, is also very important to be mindful of and be connected to. And so that is what we're doing here. We are talking about the decisions that were given out by the Supreme Court and how they connect and make sense and how they impact the life that we're having here. So let's talk about that. Let's look at that here right now. We're going to go back into this. I was hoping that they were not, I was hoping that they were not playing double time, and I hope that the audio is not janky, for lack of a better term. Let's go back into this and see what they are talking about here.
I want to go to Paula Reed. She's been reading through the opinion. Paula, what are you gleaning from it?
All right, Pamela, here's what we know. This is a big win for President Trump because he has been railing against these so-called nationwide injunctions. This is the power of a single judge to block an executive order.
All right, so President Trump comes into office And the first thing that he does is he decides that he's going to. Okay, let me back up. Let me back up. All right, let's talk. Let's talk about the different philosophies that. Let's talk about the different philosophies that presidents use in order to push their agenda forward. Because I want to talk broadly about both what happens throughout generations, things that impact generations, things that impact the positions that different parties take on a said issue. And I also want to talk about how presidents move their policy forward. Some presidents move their policy forward by war. Some presidents move their policies forward um, by let's say tariffs. Some presidents move their policies forward by focusing so much on domestic issues to where they win pivotal midterm elections and turn the majorities of the Senate and or congressional houses and then push forward their legislation. There is a number of ways that presidents can move forward their agenda. I want to, and I'm telling you this out in the open because we have a number of people watching for a number of reasons. But one of the most important reasons that I want you to be watching and listening to this is so that you understand that I understand this. This president is moving his agenda forward with executive action. That's his method. Tariffs and executive action. That's his method. Okay? That's the way he moves his agenda forward, is with tariffs and an executive action. And so what happens is when he comes in, he has a certain window by which he can use executive action, et cetera, and then it transitions to just, full out politics and policy where you have to negotiate and will and deal. And I'm sure that still exists to a degree with the executive action, but that's on the back end. But on the front end is yeah, that's on the back end. But nevertheless, my point here is that you have courts in this country that are that have throughout modern history, we have seen them challenging the executive action of the president, which kind of throws a wrench in what they are trying to do because this is about a window of implementing. You do want to transition to the wheeling and dealing of policy and moving your legislation forward, but you want to do it after the executive action, or at least that is the theory of this president. But when you have judges who stop basically stop the implementation, yes, implementation. All you got to do is sound it out. Implementation of this said policy or action, it throws a wrench in your ability to do just that, implement it. So, I'm talking, but I want to set the stage for this 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 ruling because I do believe that this ruling is very pivotal. And so I want to set the stage for it because this is pretty much it. This is pretty much it. When he came into office, he said all of these radical things. He tried all of these radical things. And then what you saw is almost one by one, you saw a judge somewhere challenge it. It was this judge out of here and this judge out of there. And what happened is because of that, he was not able to implement any of his executive actions. So they didn't really take effect. But then they stopped the action, but only temporarily. And so what has been going on is these people have been making these arguments. We've seen this kind of take place. But again, I'm saying this has all kind of been taking place in the background. Maybe you have, maybe you have not been following all of this. Certainly I have, and I've listened to some of the testimonies that were taking place and some of the arguments, and it was just not something that everybody wants to listen to and go and find, what is it, C-SPAN, and, listen to these, these testimonies, and these people argue about, the implementation of said executive policy and executive action. And it's like, you're probably just getting bored listening to me explain it to you right now. But what I'm telling you is that the ruling of the rulings of the challenges is happening right now. it's my point. Okay, that's why I'm talking so much. It's because after this is it. This is it. That's my point. And so they've made their challenges, and Trump's lawyers have been arguing back with these judges, and the judges have been arguing these things before the Supreme Court, and they've made their decision on whether or not a lower level judge can challenge and stop the executive action of a president. So moving forward, they are determining whether or not a lower level court can challenge and therefore stop an executive action, which in part means they are determining whether or not anyone can challenge an executive action other than themselves. They're basically saying no one else other than ourselves can challenge a executive action. We're the only court that can do that. And even how that takes place is an argument that constitutionalists are going to begin to take place. And so that's kind of me forecasting the future. But I want to just, again, I want to express that to you. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to invite my guy to join and see how he's doing this morning. All right. So anyway, let's get back into this video because, again, I want to set the stage for what's going on here.
For the entire country. And this case came up as a result of multiple challenges to his effort to limit birthright citizenship through an executive order. Now, here it appears that the justices are agreeing with Trump and limiting this power that judges have to block a policy for the entire country. Now, on another issue, it does not appear that they have weighed in on whether Trump's effort to limit birthright citizenship is or is not constitutional. Instead, they are limiting the power of these judges to block policies for the entire country, which will.
All right, there you go. And you know what? I'm okay with both of those decisions. You know what I mean? And on the birthright citizenship, I just ask people to look at their own lineage. Lord help me. I ask people to look at their own lineage because if you look up 2 times, none of us are really from here. You know what I mean? None of us are really from here, and so yeah, I think they got it right. I think that the birthright citizenship should I don't know if it's time to really touch that just yet. I'm not certain, and I'm thankful that our Supreme Court at least agrees with me. You know what I mean? I guess and I hope that I don't know how you feel about it, but at least it's good to. I think that I'm reasonable on that particular issue, and I'm happy to hear they agree somewhat.
Will likely allow Trump to proceed with this effort to limit birthright citizenship while the larger constitutional questions about whether he can do that are being litigated. Now, just to explain to you the significance of this, one of President Trump's lawyers told me this is the ball game for President Trump's agenda because we know more than any modern president, he loves to govern through executive.
Yeah.
By the end of the Biden administration, we had reached a state of affairs where almost every major presidential action was immediately frozen by a federal district court. As the number of universal injunctions has increased, so too has the importance of this issue. And I think that's a nice encapsulation of why this is such a big win for the Trump administration. And not just Donald John Trump, the person, but the office of the president. Whoever comes next is going to get the benefit of this ruling too.
Yeah, I think that's good.
It's going to make it much harder, not impossible, but much harder for a single district court judge in Maryland or Wyoming or where have you to say, I'm blocking the president's action nationwide. It's going to be much harder to do that now.
And isn't there a strategic victory, obviously, on behalf of the administration, back to those oral arguments that you were talking about, Pamela, by focusing this on the nationwide injunction issue and not the underlying birthright citizenship?
I think it's also important to understand, like, because what you hear nonstop on these radio shows, and I'm getting ready to get out of here in just a minute, but what you hear, radio shows, news outlets, what you hear everywhere is, and I believe it almost kind of governs it certainly governs or at the very least, it backs the narrative that people push in legacy media. It's like the polls. 60% of people say this, and 30% blah, blah, blah. And there's a poll, the Siena poll, and the poll, and there's a poll that says this and this, and there's a poll that says that, there's a poll that says this, and a poll that says that. And my thing is like, there's no poll greater than there's no poll greater than the voting poll. You know what I mean? Like, that there's no poll greater than that. And with that, my sentiment is, like, let the president be the president. Seriously. Let the president be the president. Now, if you want to criticize why they chose to focus on the policy that they chose to focus on, then that's one thing. But, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird thing that, as a matter of fact, it's government. As a matter of fact, it's actually government. I'm not even going to get into it. I think it's just politics. I'm connected to the storyline in a way as a politician that helps me to see that sometimes people just argue against you because it's you. And it's like, I'm happy to see that this most recent round of this fighting for the sake of fighting has not worked. Because we, through the law, should be able to fight and go through this process and do all of what has just been done. But you guys just did it for no reason. That's the true sentiment. That's the true heart of it. Because I was getting ready to try to jump into some type of why did they do this bag. But you know what? It's really just politics. Really. It's really just politics. But when you add the fact that they just did this because they were mad, it's like, then it's like, come on, man. We've got bigger things to be worried about than fighting these type of battles. And again, I'm connecting that back to the local politics because I'm saying to you, now the local politician, watch this. I'm going back down local. Can't you see the powers above us aren't listening to us? Can't you see the establishment and the people, even on the local level, that is the thing that they have in common. That is the thing that is the common denominator across the people that are in power, which is why we need new voices. It's because the issues and the fights that they are engaging in are not the fights that we're discussing at our dinner table. That's my point. There's, fighting this man day and night is a rich man's luxury. We need better schools. And these are the things we've been arguing about. But you guys are wasting your time and your money fighting in court with this man because you're mad he's not going to allow you to keep the same amount of power. But all you've got to do is give the power to the people. And we'll make sure that, listen, I believe genuinely, as long as you are diligent in serving and empowering people, you'll always have a job. People will always be coming to you for some help, for some guidance, trying to connect with you, trying to collaborate with you, trying to bless you, trying to impart wisdom, trying to get wisdom. You'll always have people around you that are moving and shaking and doing great things and making big decisions. If you're a servant and if you are working to empower people, you'll never lack for, if you are meeting the needs of people and trying to help people to get to the next level in whatever it is that they're doing, you'll always have a position. It's the weirdest thing. And so the Democratic Party has tried to hold on to power by holding on to power and snatching it from other people and not listening to their constituents. And that is why they've lost the way that they've lost. Because if you've had the people behind you, this man would have never been able to pack the court in the first place. Somebody talk to me. I understand this on the next level. He's won this battle because he packed the court. Checkmate. And so it is time for us to focus on what is important to us and figure out how these changes in what's going on can impact our government and our states and our city streets in a positive way. The time is up for us trying to fight against what has obviously not worked. It's time for us to be sober-minded enough, switch gears, collaborate, come together, and figure out how we can empower ourselves on the streets and on the ground so much that we are, one, protected from the negative side of the things that are going on at the federal level, and two, involved on the positive things. Because it's obvious that our current leadership is so adamant at fighting against him that we can't even see how any of these policies and ideas benefit us. Because you know that everything that the guy is presenting isn't bad, right? You know that, right? You know we understand foreign policy well enough. Us black people understand that well enough to understand that everything that he's proposing isn't negative. You know that, right? You know that we realize that everything that the Democrats have proposed in the last 60 years has not been a net positive for us. We realize that. And vice versa. So again, we deserve leadership who can see this man sober-minded. That's all I'm saying. And that's what we've lost. That's what we've lost. And that's what we are bringing back to our local government so that, again, we can find the common ground and find access to the resources because they are available if we are in tune and finding out how we can build on common ground. But you got to be sober-minded in order to do that. I want to turn here very quickly to another race that's taking place here in the country, and it's so interesting. You know, I heard someone saying on shout out to the guys at Daily Detroit, big fan of their work, and I was listening to their podcast the other day. I think they were saying it on their podcast, and they were talking about how, you know, the mayor's race in New York City is actually like a race that gets, you know, national coverage because of the, geopolitical implications and just kind of all of the diversity and the the stock exchange and all of these other different elements that exist just geographically in the state of New York City in particular. And so the world is watching this mayor's race now. And so let's turn here very quickly to Mayor of New York City, Mayor Adams. He's beginning to launch his reelection bid, and now we are beginning to see the contrast because we just saw Mr. Mondani beat former governor Mr. Cuomo in the primary for the Democratic nomination, and we are now seeing that the primaries in New York is a very tier system, a very intricate and delicate system, and so we don't understand that as much as we possibly could and should, but we do understand that the current mayor is running as an independent technically, but he still is a Democrat, and he is also the type of Democrat who is a centrist. So that means he also has some things in common with the people who support Trump, quite frankly, because the left has moved so far to the left, and obviously the right has moved so far to the right as well. But there is a greater the right spectrum is larger. Excuse me, the right spectrum is maybe smaller than the left spectrum. The left goes very left, but the right has a large swath of what used to be the middle in it right now because of how the policies and the issues that the parties decide to fight for. It kind of sways back and forth, and in the current moment it appears as though what used to be the middle is currently mostly the right. And so that means, what I'm saying is that means Mayor Adams is a Democratic mayor who is running as an independent, who has a lot in common with the Republican Party currently. And so he is probably going to emerge as the people's candidate because Mr. Mondani has emerged as the socialist, the furthest of the far left. Good morning. And so let's see what Mayor Adams has to say about why he wants to be the mayor moving forward. And let's see which of those two makes sense to you more.
Tonight that he's going to go head-to-head with the Democrats' new rising star, Zohran Mamdani, as an independent candidate in the mayor's race in the biggest city in America. Now, we're going to speak to Mamdani live in just a moment. But first, take a listen to Mayor Adams' attacks right out of the gate today.
This election is a choice between a candidate with a blue collar and one with a silver spoon. A choice between dirty fingernails and manicured nails. This is not a city where you use idealism to state you're giving everything to everyone for free. There's no dignity in someone giving you everything for free. There's dignity in giving you a job so you can provide for your family and the opportunities that you deserve. So this is not a city of handouts. This is a city of hands up.
All right. Okay. Quickly. I want to jump in before I am. This is my first time seeing this, and so we're responding to this together. But I dig that. I dig that, and I think that is the public consensus in this space right now. And we haven't heard together what Mr. Mondani's position is on this thing, but I do understand Mr. Mondani to be extremely charismatic. I also recently realized and saw that he acted in a Disney movie, and I was under the impression that he was like new to politics and that this was his first time running for elected office, but it also became apparent to me that he is currently an elected official. He does currently, and maybe we'll get into that and look into it here in just a moment, but it is my understanding that he is currently an elected official, and he used to be a Disney actor. And so that's, that's something fascinating to know. I'm running for public office. Listen, I own a child care center. Fun fact, right? That's fine. No biggie, but I think it's fascinating. I'm a church musician. Fun fact. Right? And so no harm, no foul, but I think that's fascinating and something to just be mindful of as we begin to really try to get a feel for the temperament. Because listen, we're in the middle of an election year. These people are running for office, and so what we are hearing is polished and practiced talking points. Some people are more natural and some people are less natural, but essentially what we are hearing is talking, polished, political, sportsmanship. Okay? Some people train to dunk a ball, some people train to answer a question about how we should bring peace to the Middle East. Like that is what we're watching here. And so random facts may end up being significant when you are really trying to get a genuine feel for someone's background and temperament. And so, Disney actor who's already an elected official.
Adams taking direct aim at the core of Mamdani's campaign. Mamdani has made economics the heart of it, right? Things like freezing rent on nearly half of the city's apartments, free bus service, free childcare for children under 5, and city-run grocery stores.
Yes, free childcare for children under 5. I think that's something that sounds good. Listen, rent freeze, I don't believe that's fair. I don't believe in rent freezes. Let's just call it like it is. I don't believe that we should be freezing the rent prices. That is handicapping the business owners. That is handicapping the landlords. That is handicapping those mom and pop. I mean, listen, we're only thinking about the big guy. But what I've come to understand is like the best analogy that I can use is like, the only guy that was, a turd to the girls were like the star running back, the star quarterback, the star receiver, the star DB, the star safety, and I'm not picking on my sports guys, you know what I mean? Like the star point guard, the star forward, the star center, the fastest track athlete, you know what I mean? The number one, right, smooth guy, the one get like, but in the big picture, that's only 20 people. The rest of us are just regular guys. You feel me? We love y'all. And so what I'm saying is that, yes, you do have a lot of big, and yes, there are monopolies in these industries. I'm not denying that. But what I'm saying is that we have information now. We have resources and we have brilliant minds across the spectrum. And we know that there is a better way. We don't have to tell rent owners that they can't increase their rent prices. We don't have to do that. We can empower them. We can create collaboration and ensure that renters have fairness in the market. And we can create the type of partnership and communication that ensures that we are creating the type of legislation in a local and state and even federal way that also ensures that we are pushing out bad landlords. We can do this, but we are not going to tell the landlords that they cannot increase the prices of their rent. I don't think that's fair. Okay, there is an argument about the affordability. What we do on the affordability end is offer people the jobs. Because guess what? The high-paying quality jobs and opportunity is what we don't have access to. But we don't want to regulate the prices that a person can charge. We want to make sure that people have an adequate amount of resources and access to quality resources so that they can provide for themselves and make their own ends meet and so that they can make the amount of income to where they can compete for the homes and they can compete whether or not they want to rent or own homes. That essentially is how you regulate the price of rent in the market. Is by giving people access to home ownership. Now, I do definitely understand that the policies are different here in the city of New York, but I am inclined to speak to what is more prevalent here in the city of Detroit. So that may or may not completely apply. But let me just listen here to Mr. Mondani's response.
Okay, well, the Adams news comes as our Isaac Dover is just reporting that former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who, of course, was crushed in that primary, who conceded it to Mamdani, will not drop out of the race before tomorrow's deadline. So now this raises crucial questions about whether he will also be running in the general election as an independent. But Mamdani's likely and seismic win over Cuomo in the primary is generating national headlines about him being a new political star, creating a movement. And from the left-leaning Nation magazine, they write the Democratic Party establishment should follow Zohran Mamdani's example. Out front now, New York State Assemblyman and presumptive Democratic nominee for mayor of New York.
All right, New York State Assemblyman. Now listen, I'm a student of politics, and I would say that I know a great deal about politics, but that is not a. We got to look that up. Let's see. Let's take a moment. We're getting ready to get our day started in just a second here, but I want to know what that is. I'll write it down. I'll research it, and then we'll talk about it at a later time because we are short on our time together here. But just make a mental note of that. That's a part of his introduction.
Zohran Mamdani.
And the reason that, and let me just be transparent. The reason that I'm calling that out is because I heard his opponent call it out. Mr. Adams is saying in a different interview that he did with Fox the other day that some of the things that he's proposing be done as mayor, he could have actually done in the current role that he has. And that is important to me and us here in Detroit because some of the things that people are proposing they can do as mayor, they could have done as council. Hello, somebody. Some of the things that people could have done as mayor, they some of the things that people think they want to do as governor, they could have done in the current role that they are in. I'm not singling anyone out. What I'm saying is that there are a couple of key issues that exist that have not been addressed in the way that they should here in our city. And for you to be asking for re-election and heaven forbid a promotion, it is time for us to tackle some of the key and critical issues and concerns of the constituents here in the city while we are talking about re-election. That is my point. I'm pointing that out in Mr. Mamdani because, again, his opponent is saying that, you're saying you're going to do something as mayor that you aren't doing in your current role. And that is exactly what we are arguing is taking place here in the city of Detroit. Let's listen. I want to hear, him speak here. He's an eloquent guy.
Out front now, New York State Assemblyman and presumptive Democratic nominee for mayor of New York, Zohran Mamdani. And so much appreciate your time. A whirlwind week for you, I think, to put it lightly. Okay, so, everyone else is putting their view on this, of what this means, okay? Your victory. What do you think it means?
I think it means that we are ready in the most expensive city in the United States to have 5 boroughs that New Yorkers can actually afford. And this entire race was about the question of affordability.
All right. The question, all right, so he jumps into his thing about affordability, okay? And I'll lay it out to you. I get it. I get that crisis. We understand, at least through the lens of the narrative that the legacy media has given to us, that rent's you get a shoebox is $5,000 in New York City, right? And so we get that. We are accustomed to that narrative. But the question remains, because we understand that even the things that are free cost to someone. And so if you are going to make things affordable, who's going to provide that wiggle room? If there are going to be nips and tucks, now we're not talking about, he's saying affordable, maybe he'll mention the word free in a few moments, right? But if you say the word affordable, then that means someone somewhere is going to have to concede some of their profit so that the overall, in theory, just the overall global market can balance itself out. That is how you make it affordable. And then when you begin to talk about making things free, then at that point, you're not asking those who have more to make some type of adjustments in order for things to be affordable on the other end. You're asking the other end. Thank you so much. I'll take right here. You're asking those on the other end to foot the bill of something or whatever it is. Now listen, it may be, watch this. And I love this example because, you know, I go to festivals, I go to events a lot, I see things a lot, I go places a lot, right? And it's like you go somewhere and out of nowhere, you've got, and I want to make this point, you've got a shout out, they're going to get some free promo today. You've got a Humana chapstick. It's a Humana chapstick, right? You look and you see a Humana chapstick. Let me see if I can turn this around. This would be pretty dope if I could. Can I do this? This is awesome. All right, bam. All right, you see my Humana chapstick here? And it's one chapstick. You see it at a festival. You see it at a whatever. And they're in the park, and you just walk through, and they have a cup holder here, and they have some chapsticks here, blah, 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 blah. So the company of Humana provided this chapstick for free. And guess what? It's not a big deal. It's just a chapstick. Someone had to pay for this chapstick, though. You know that. And it's not a big deal because I only have one. But they actually bought 10 million. You know what I mean? It's like 10 million of these is a big deal. A million of these is 10,000 of these is a big deal, right? I mean, to me, in my hand, it's just free, right? And so when you begin to talk about free bus rides, one free bus ride, seriously, a free bus ride for a senior, a free bus ride, for a kid that has, kids that are, because here in our city, the children use the school bus. The children use DDOT to get to school. So it would be imaginable for the children to be able to have some type of system where they could scan a card that shows that they are, going to school and they'll get a free or reduced, fare. If that's a policy that's not already in place, that's definitely one that I would legislate and support, right? One of them is okay, right? But 10,000 free bus rides? Oh, somebody's got to pay for that. Right? One chapstick, yeah, I mean, we can, it's not a big, I don't see the issue with me getting one free chapstick. Like, what do you, like, even if I get 5 free chapsticks, because you know what I did, right? Is I actually got a handful of chapsticks. I'm still, me and my wife have this running joke where I say, I'm still a black man. Listen, I'm still a black man. I'm still black. I got a couple extra of these things. And I'm not, let me digress in that because I'm not feeding some narrative. I am still a frugal person who takes advantage of a good deal. Now, I don't think that is exclusive to African Americans. And so I want to, respectfully retract that because I was trying to be funny, but even in that humor, I don't want to perpetuate that negative stereotype. But nobody passes on a good deal, okay? And if you can get a few good chapstick, then you might as well. And so I did. But again, 10,000 of them, it cost. And so that's my perspective on the idea that we're going to have public policy that ensures that things are free. That, at least in my mind, is why, in theory, it doesn't really compute for me. Let's see what Mr. Mamdani thinks.
Ability. And ultimately, I have run a campaign that speaks about the tools that city government actually has to deliver that affordability in the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the world. And it's time that we have a mayoral administration that follows through.
Okay. That's his argument. That's his argument. Okay. Hey, listen. And and at this point, I've only disagreed with the guy, but I hear him now. I hear him on both ends. It's the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country. I wonder where he's from. I know they say he's I know that he's in. I know he wasn't born here in the country, but I wonder where he's from, because I also heard him mention that he lived in Africa. But I also know that and I don't want to. Again, I didn't hear him say where he was born. Is my point. But let's get back into this here. Okay, so his perspective is that he wants to make things affordable again, and he's contrasting that with the idea and, quite frankly, the reality. I'll give it to him. Facts are facts. This is one of the richest cities in the country, and, quite frankly, one of the wealthiest countries in the world.
Actually delivers that.
All right, so I want to talk about some of that, but first the breaking news. Isaac Dever is reporting that Andrew Cuomo is not dropping out of the general election race, right? And it's kind of a willy-wonny, but the deadline's tomorrow. Is this a surprise to you?
Ultimately, Andrew's decision or my decision matters less than the decision that voters already took on Tuesday night, where we won from Bay Ridge to Dyker Heights to Harlem to Washington Heights. We saw.
All right, there you go. And so that is the main thing we have to go back to. And I always want to stop every chance I can to find the common ground with this guy as well, because I'm leaning towards Mayor Adams. I don't mind telling you where I'm at the end of this. No big deal. Feel how you feel. But again, the voting poll is the poll. The voting poll and what people have said is what we need to be referring back to.
A mandate delivered for a new generation of leadership. And I am so proud and excited to continue to build on that mandate with an ever-expanding coalition, one that has now included the endorsements of Congressman Jerry Nadler, of State Senator Brad Hoylman-Siegel, and Manhattan Borough President, soon-to-be Controller, Mark Levine. And ultimately, that is a coalition that will continue to expand through November.
Right, so you're saying no matter what, I mean, if Andrew Cuomo's in, it's not like a redo where you're worried?
No, not at all. I mean, we did it once, and it turned out pretty well.
All right, so now can we talk about the policy? The policy is what stood out to a lot of people. But right, I said the freezing rents on half of the apartments, free bus service.
And he says that he's a socialist. And listen, I'm not against making things better, but if we are accusing Trump of like slashing things in, or like, if you are of the opinion that Trump is slashing things and is not thinking methodically about how we can improve, because everybody agrees that we don't want corporate waste and fraud and abuse, but we don't want it this way. Okay, so if you agree that he is excessive in his execution of the policy, even though you agree with the policy and the idea and the narrative, and he's doing it to the benefit, in theory, of the rich, then socialism is the same negative concept, but doing it in the theory, in excess, in the benefit of the poor. And neither of the two extremes, in my personal opinion, is a healthy one. Neither of the two extremes is a healthy one, in my opinion. And so you're going to, rob from the everyday man to, subsidize the tax cuts for the wealthy. We ought to hang them. But I also believe to rob from the wealthy, actually, and take from the rich and take from those, who have amassed wealth, rob them and to give it to the poor is equally as insidious, actually. Newsflash. And most of us are in the middle. I want to put that out there because some people are listening to that, looking and hearing that and saying, "What do you mean? You don't want to kill the rich? You don't want to eat the rich?" Nah, not actually. Because to kill the rich is to assume that every rich person has amassed their wealth in the most egregious, insidious way possible. And that's not right. That's not right. It's not right. Not to say that and simultaneously work to expand your own net worth. You can't do that, man. That's called hypocrisy. What I'm currently doing right now is trying to build a legacy, make more money, make a name for myself, get into elected office, have positive impact. Make it good so that my children can work or not work, but obviously encourage them to work. That's what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to do it in the most honest way possible. And so if I do, and God knows when I do accomplish that, and wealth is associated with that, you mean to tell me you're going to take it back from me and give it to other people that I know some of which have not worked to make their own ends meet? Now, obviously, there are a lot of people in that bucket who have been mistreated by the system. There are a lot of people in that bucket and that sphere on that end of the spectrum that have been abused by the system, right? But there are also people in that same boat who have abused and manipulated the system and have taken resources instead of trying to get up and trying to make the most of the opportunities and the resources that at their disposal. And so again, there is greed and corruption on both ends. And so the ones who can make the greatest change and the ones who are going to move this thing forward are the ones who are in the middle. It is not okay to kill the rich, nor is it okay to take from the hardworking citizen their tax-paying dollars and invest into your different projects and into your different opportunities and to your different contracts that you give to people outside of the city. And so it's not okay on both ends. But I think this guy is a little too far on the left. Let's see.
Free childcare and the city-run grocery stores. How do you pay for that?
Let's go through it. So for the first thing, freezing the rent, that's not something that requires any fiscal output from the city. It's something that's determined by the Rent Guidelines Board, composed of 9 members. The mayor picks each of those members. They determine each year whether rents rise or whether they stay the same. The previous mayoral administration froze the rent 3 times, so this has clear historical precedent. When it comes to city-run grocery...
Even Adams, you're saying Adams.
No, this is prior
to
Adams. He's the current one who has raised it 9% on those same New Yorkers, pushing them out of their homes. City-run grocery stores, I've proposed a pilot program of 1 store in each borough. These are 5 stores in total.
And my thing with the rent raising is I feel how I feel about it based on the education and the contrast and comparison of understanding here in the city of Detroit. And, again, it seems as though that rent issue is far more complex because obviously I'm only, I think I'm in the weeds, and I know I've got a lot deeper to go into the weeds as it pertains to politics here in the city, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt as well and say that the rent capping thing may be different there, but it won't be a good idea here in my honest assessment, because I know a lot of people who have bought their homes, next door. I know a lot of business owners and a lot of landlords that are really great landlords. There is a lot of work that needs to be done on some of the larger properties, right? But then you also got a lot of new properties that are coming in, right? And so it's complex here, and it's complex in a way that I believe we shouldn't be capping rent. I believe that we shouldn't take that off the table, but I believe that we have enough diversity of thought and resources and other legislative maneuvers in order for us to regulate our housing market and make housing more affordable, other than capping the rent that landlords and business owners can charge. And obviously, if I'm speaking to it in this degree, I understand it to a degree. And so if you disagree, get into my comments and let's have a more robust conversation about it so that we can find what? That common ground, right? Let's find that common ground. But let's listen to Mr. Mamdani.
The cost of this is $60 million. This is less than half the cost of what the city is already set to spend on a subsidy program for corporate supermarkets that has no guarantee of cheaper prices or collective bargaining agreements or even accepting
So
SNAP
you're
or
not
WIC.
looking at some like Soviet Union grocery stores on every corner that are going to be run by the government.
No, what I'm looking at is how to solve the very clear twin crises of affordability when you go to the grocery store and food deserts, which disproportionately impact Black and brown New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, where I've heard directly from New Yorkers who say, why is it that I can find 6 fast food restaurants in a 5-block radius, but I can't find a place to buy groceries?
But five boroughs, 5 grocery stores. But that can't be the goal.
Well, I mean, the idea
Is
of
the goal you want them on every? But in New York, things do go. There's a nail salon on every corner. There's a grocery store on almost every other corner.
I think ultimately I'm guided by outcomes. If this pilot succeeds in guaranteeing cheaper groceries, as I think it will be, then yes, it should scale up. If it doesn't succeed, then no, it shouldn't, because what New Yorkers want are results. And then it comes to making buses free and universal childcare.
Right.
These are things that cost around.
My question about affordability is sustainability. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. It's like, we affordable for how long? And the reason that I'm asking that question in a sincere way, or should I say, as my Brodowski should say, in a real way, the reason, shout out to Aaron the plumber, the reason that I would say it like that is because a lot of the questions that we are facing here in the city right now is the bill is about to be due. That's again, I'm putting back on the Detroit lens and asking myself, how much longer before we hit the neighborhoods? How much longer before? And so, how much longer, or how could we have the funding for affordability here in the city without an influx of success and profit in the city? That's what I'm asking. How can things be more affordable unless there is more success? Because you don't make things more affordable by manipulating the price to a degree, right? Obviously there's, cost of creation, but my point more specifically when we're talking about groceries and things of that nature, it's like the way that we've seen it work is by opportunity and by growth and through people having more success. And then we make a big nip and a big tuck, in a way. But what I'm saying, we make a big nip and a big tuck. Let me finish that thought out. We make a big nip or a big tuck, through a legislative maneuver in the event that we need. Good morning. Good to see you, buddy. Add you. Okay. All right. Well, Grand Risings. Okay. I can get you added here in okay. I'll get you added. Give me just a moment. I want to finish this thought because I really want to talk about the affordability, because affordability cost. I've already given the analogy of the one chapstick. Affordability cost, free cost. And we are in a season in the city where we know that we are up against a time period where things are about to become more frugal. There's going to be less resources. And so again, in the idea of affordability in a space where there is less resources, that the answer is not to manipulate the prices on things in this particular context, in this moment. The answer needs to be to create more opportunity, more profit, more success for the individuals that are in the market. I don't think it's time to correct the market. I don't think it's the correct we haven't seen the greatest success in fixing the market that way. Let Mr. Mondani go a little bit more, and we'll close out here in a second.
$700 million and let's say about $5 or $6 billion. Significant amounts of money.
Huge amounts of money.
But have to be understood in the context of a $113 billion municipal budget, a $252 billion state budget. And we put forward a plan to pay for these and more to start Trump-proofing our city through two major revenue streams. Increasing the top corporate tax rate of New York to match that of New Jersey, that raises $5 billion, and increasing income taxes on the top 1% of New Yorkers who make $1 million or more a year by 2%. Both of
See, the thing of it is like, because the idea that all the people hold, a few people hold all the wealth. That idea it's novel to me. It's tricky to me because when we have that, because in that theory, the person who is presenting that theory is the one who dictates what the image of wealthy is. Because a person who has $10 million may or may not think that they're wealthy in comparison to the billionaire friend that they go to lunch with, right? And if the person is career driven, if the person is on a journey, if the person is moving somewhere, if the person is forward driven, they almost have the right to call themselves not wealthy. And so what happens over time is you essentially have the wealthy calling the wealthier too wealthy. And so it's like a double-edged sword. It's like on one end, it's like, you don't want the everyday common man to be impacted by the change of policy. But at the same time, when you say percentage, it's just kind of like, okay, there are going to be a lot of innocent people who are just 1 and 2 and 3 millionaires that are going to get caught in the crossfire. There's just no way around it. Unless you're going to point out 5 people, 10 people, then so be it. Have the brass to do that. Have the brass to say, attack but what's going to happen is you're going to do it in the blanket way, or and then people are going to get caught in the crossfire, and then what you're going to have is the wealthy getting mad at the wealthier. And then those who genuinely need resources and help and people to be mindful and cognizant of their challenges always get the tail end of the unintended consequences, particularly those of color. We're running for change, y'all. We're running for change. That's what we're doing. I got to get out of here because it's Saturday. It's prime time. It's time to get into the streets. Thank you guys so much. I'm getting ready to get into the streets today. I didn't get a chance to finish out Mr. Mondani, but obviously you can check out CNN's, take on what he's got to say. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Again, my name is Whitney Clark, and I am a write-in candidate for Detroit City Council. And what I'm doing here in this space and in this moment is trying to demonstrate to the online community that as a candidate for City Council District 5, a write-in candidate, our primary is August the 5th. And so you have to write my name in on or by August the 5th on your absentee ballot or when you go in to vote. Write my name in for City Council District 5. And what I'm doing on these series is I am trying to demonstrate to the community that I have the capacity to call a ball and a strike. I have an understanding, a robust, sincere understanding of what is going on at the national, state, and even at the international level and how that impacts us. I will be first to know when resources are available for our community. I will be first to know when things can happen in a positive way because I am sober-minded enough to build on common ground with anyone, whether you are from the left and from the right. And I am honest enough to tell you like it is. And I will make the most compelling, articulate argument for the change that we need here in the city. We need better schools. We need an influx of starter homes. And I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to ensure that our seniors are protected. And I'm going to ensure that all of these things take place without it being at the expense of our business owners. How do you do it? You do it by empowering people. Yes, there are going to be some nips and some tucks and some changes that have to take place, and we're going to have to meet in the middle on this. And someone's going to have to foot some of the bills of some of these endeavors, but we're going to make sure that our money is working smart and that it's working effectively and efficiently, and that we're giving resources and that we are creating upward mobility by creating educational opportunities. Listen, upward mobility, upward economic mobility is education. That's what it is. Let's stop sugarcoating and tomato, half in one, six in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Upward economic mobility. Excuse me, I'm tripping over myself. I'm getting excited. Upward economic mobility for people in the city of Detroit is AKA better education at an earlier age. That's what that means. And so let's talk specifically about what that means here in the city, how we work together cohesively through all of the forms of government and all of the legislative bodies that exist here. The business sector, the private sector, the religious community, how are we working together and ensuring that we are all rowing in the same direction? Because my friends, my brothers, and my sisters, we are not doing that in the current moment. You know that we aren't. And you would be insulting my intelligence to assume that we think that we are. And let me say this as I close out, because this has become the reality. If you want the city to improve, what's going to happen is it is going to take an improvement of the philosophy and the mindset of the people that exist. And while we are in that transition, one, improving the mindset of the people that are here and inviting, world-class quality citizens here. We've got to stop insulting the intelligence of the people here by assuming that they are okay with taking their showers out of a gallon jug of water. It's not acceptable. And so this is me calling out our local leadership now. If you want us to be a world-class city, a large part of what that means is treating your citizens better. You gotta stop insulting their intelligence and thinking that you can give them brown water for a week and they'll be okay with getting a gallon jug out of the store. That's not world class. And darn it, if you want me to act like your wife, then you got to put a ring on it, huh? Right? You understand that narrative. You understand that concept. And so if you want our people to be better, if you want our people and you want the city to be better, that's going to require higher quality thinking people. And higher quality thinking people do not bathe out of gallon jugs. We don't do it. And so we are here and we love the city. We are brought up in a way, in a culture that compels us to encourage our fellow brother to lift their quality of life. That is why we are here. But do not insult our intelligence in the process, because we are the upper middle class, quite frankly, of people that can be what? Anywhere in this country. We're the families that you want here. We're the families that make a city world class. That's who we are. And so do not tell us to go get a jug of water. Don't do that, man. That's trashy, man. That's trashy. Now, I done got mad. That's real trashy. I feel some type of way. You can't say this is a world-class city or we're becoming a world-class city and you got to bathe out of. No, come on, man. Come on. Let's go to this video.
Hey, my name is Whitney Clark. I am a write-in candidate for Detroit City Council District 5, and you probably heard that the city of Detroit is back, it's revived. But here, like boots on the ground, the infrastructure is crumbling, and the residents have to bathe out of gallon jugs of water because our water system is brown. And the only reason you don't know about it is because people aren't talking about it. But this is the reality of the everyday Detroiter. And I think it's unacceptable. Good thing there's an election coming up.
Being ever done. I am reacting to myself. I'm wrapping it up right now, though. I'm showing our friends the video of me taking a bath the other night in 2 buckets. I want to cement this image into your mind. That's not how people live in a world-class city. That's not how people live. That's unacceptable, actually. And our elected leaders did not come out and speak to that in a way that ensures that you respect us. Water is a human right. That's unacceptable. Water is a human right. And so let me ask you one more time. Are we, seriously, are we a world-class city? And even if that's, and I can accept the fact that we are in the process of bringing that to fruition. I can accept that. That is, I want to be a part of that work, but there still has to be a moment in time where we, even the ones doing that work, switch and decide with amongst ourselves that we're going to change the way we talk to and treat people. And so the question still remains, even if we are becoming that city, when are we as the people doing the work going to start treating each other like we are who we want to become? Even if I want you to become my wife, there's a point where when I start calling you my fiance. When are we going to upgrade the way we treat the citizens of Detroit? When are we going to upgrade that? I know we're working through some things. That's fine. We're all a work in progress. And no one has to be perfect. No one's batting 1,000. But when are we going to upgrade it? When do we become a little bit better than what we've been treated in the past? When do we up the quality of living so much so that people don't say with a calm face on the evening news, go get a bucket of water?
Hey, my name is Whitney Clark. I am a write-in candidate for Detroit City Council District 5. And you probably heard that the city of Detroit is back, it's revived. But here, like boots on the ground, the infrastructure is crumbling, and the residents have to bathe out of gallon jugs of water because our water system is brown. And the only reason you don't know about it is because people aren't talking about it. But this is the reality of the everyday Detroiter. And I think it's unacceptable. Good thing there's an election coming up.
And the reason that I think that you gotta be pissed off is because I'm raising kids in this city, man. I'm a part of what you say is the comeback of this city. And so when my water is brown for a week, have some decency and some respect. Because water is a human right. I am Whitney Clark, a write-in candidate for District 5, the great city of Detroit. But listen, this city only becomes great and walks into that greatness when we own it individually, when we walk with our chest out and our heads up. And a part of doing that is saying hell no to bathing in buckets.